Hi, good evening. This is Bud Rebel from the Bud Rebel Show, and I'm honored tonight to interview a man named Gilbert Sosa. Gilbert Sosa is a very, very talented young man. Gilbert, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, bud. Thank you so much for having me. By the way, it's Sosa, like salsa almost.
Oh, got that. Okay, a little Sosa salsa. Oh, I got it. No problem.
So I'm a filmmaker and I'm a content creator. I've been doing it right now for around 5 years, which is really crazy to say. And well, I'm really happy to be here, and I love talking to other creative people. So, like, I mean, that's pretty much how I go about my day to day.
That's great. Now,
Filmmaker and creating content.
that's it. You got to have a lot of fun with this stuff. Question for you: did you watch the Daytona 500 this weekend?
I missed it. I
All
need to
right,
watch
all
it. I
right,
need to
all right.
watch it.
Wait.
I need to watch it.
Sorry, the hat's coming off. See that? We're putting on the other hat now.
Oh, honestly,
That's your fault. If you
I didn't notice it, so that's great.
that's it. If you watch it, I could wear the other hat. That's it. It was a great race, by the way. You have to watch the recap. Next question. This is really deep. I want you to think about this, okay? I know
I promise I will. I promise I will. Yeah,
you're
I
a
promise I
very,
will.
very big influencer. You're a person that really knows what's up. So here we go. I have a choice right now. One of these cookies I'm going to eat tonight. Shall I have the Malamars? Should I have the farmhouse thin chocolate dark? Or should I go with the more healthier Newtons whole grain fig? I need to know. What am I going to have after this interview? And why? A lot of pressure. I know.
I feel I feel like it's the last one because they're a lot more healthier, and also
Really?
because I feel like during the week, I feel like I don't know that I don't know personally. Like during the week, I tend to have like the more healthier stuff, and then on the weekends, I'll just splurge. You know?
So it's like I know it's like a Monday because we had off Tuesday, and I'm like I worked all day, and I'm like should I eat something healthy. I should say I'm done with the day and should eat something really bad. Just one. I'm not sure. So you say go and stay healthy, right? I'm getting a little older. I'm not a little older than you. So just go with the healthy one, huh? You would eat the fig Newton over the chocolate
I
chip.
say you go with the healthy one.
All right, now, but if you're on a desert island and you could have only one cookie of these three, which one do you would choose?
The second one, because I've never had it. I've had the first one,
Wait,
and I haven't had the third one, but the third one sounds healthy.
wait, you never had a Malamar?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh. You better
I
that's
know.
I would that's you've been deprived, my friend. I don't get that. It's like Malibus are like, oh, I feel so sad. This is like the chocolate and marshmallow and dark chocolate. Now, when you get one, if you really want it to be special, put it in the microwave for 20 seconds. And you are in heaven. In heaven. So, Gilbert, tell me how this all started. I think you started out at some Episcopal high school and you met somebody who's a little different politically than me there. And somebody else. Tell me a little about what happened there, please. Okay.
So I guess to make it like a more like summarized story. So when I graduated high school, Episcopal High School, I drove out to LA like 2 weeks afterwards, and I was like, I'm gonna go do this LA thing, and I'm gonna figure it out when I get there. I put away like a stash of money for like the last few months of my senior year. I was working like double shifts and everything, and then when I got to LA, I got there like during like the gold rush, you could say, of like the first wave of social media, where like everything that's happening right now, it's kind of like everything that at that time what we were expecting to see. And at that time, I was hanging around this building that everybody knows. I feel like, well, I don't even know if they still know about it because we're in a such different wave of social media. It was called 1600 Vine, and when I was hanging out at 1600 Vine, I was collaborating with like models and stuff like that. I was like shooting their photos in exchange for like promotion on social media. They would get like my photos like taken of them, so they would be like free content. So like that would get me through the door with a lot of people that were just looking to get content. And at that time, it was very rare for photographers to like work with people who weren't models. Or sorry, that weren't like that were just creators, just for the sake of like social media. Like trader photos always existed, but it was more for like portfolio purposes. This was definitely not for portfolio purposes. It was like for content creation for social media. And eventually I came across this one person that was like, hey, you should hit up this one guy called Jake Paul. He's starting a company and he just moved to a house in West Hollywood. And so I did. And then a few days later, I found myself getting hired to be an intern for Jake and his company. And then from there, it kind of just spiraled into like different things to where like a year later, I was working with all these creators and I started doing content myself on social media. And I started getting into the Latin market, into the Spanish market, because I saw like a hole in there. And I was like, let me see if I can, if there's an opportunity there. And once I did that, it kind of just all, it kind of just all stick together. And since then, um, I did YouTube full time for like 2 years. And then now I've been focused on like making films and kind of like using that social media presence and turning it into like something bigger than just like social media, you know, like more like of a, the goal would be down the road, a household name as a film director or as an actor too, because I'm also an actor. So yeah, that's pretty much, I guess you could say, like a summarized down version, because it's it's just it's been 5 years now almost, and it's like the way you asked me, it's crazy because I don't even feel like it's been 5 years. You know, everything goes so fast now. And now even like a month feels like it's been a few days. You know.
So you went down here, I guess about 17 years old from Texas,
I
California,
was I was 18.
18.
hmm
So what do you tell your parents? I'm going to be a movie star. What do you tell them? How do they
um.
hear this?
So here's the thing. So when I went out there, I was already enrolled to go to UT Austin. I had a full ride to UT Austin. So I was basically just gonna go for the summer. But then upon being there for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, everything just kind of became a lot more serious. Like literally 10 days before orientation, that I was supposed to go back to Texas. That's when I got the offer to like stay in LA and work full time for this group of influencers, the company called Team 10 that eventually became a phenomenon in social media and kind of just turned into a lot of other different things that till this day we all know of, you know, in the mainstream and just social media in general. Um, and and for my parents, I mean, my mom was always very supportive since day one. It was all about like whatever makes you happy, and like if it's gonna yield results, then do it. And I didn't really know like what the results are gonna be, but I kind of just trusted my gut and I went with it. And eventually I actually got a gap year from UT Austin. And a year later, I still, even though I got the gap year, I still didn't go, you know, and then it was just like, it was just too good. Like I never saw, I guess like my whole high school career, I worked to like go to college to like, as we usually do, and like to like be successful in that way. But for a spot in the entertainment industry, like a career in the entertainment industry, I just didn't see that as being like something for me because I already felt like I was so hands on that I did not need it. So I just trusted my gut and I went with it. And ever since then, haven't looked back.
So that when you first got down there, were you making a living in this industry, or you were doing other stuff to make ends meet when you first got in? How did that work out?
Whoa. So that's a crazy question. So when I first got down there, I had actually I had a few savings. I had a savings for like 2 or 3 months. And then after that, that's when I got hired by Jake Paul, and he started like he caught me on full time. But then I did that for like 6 months, and then from there I kind of went on and did my own thing, and that's when things get a little bit interesting because I wasn't making any sort of living because at this time I was still behind the lens. I wasn't a content creator in front of the camera myself. I was just a person like producing behind the camera and like doing the photo shoots and doing the video shoots. And in LA, it's a very competitive market. So a lot of the time, like people are like, especially because I was 19 now, like a lot of the time you have to like undersell yourself to even like get hired for jobs, even though you're really talented because there's so much competition. So like I wasn't making a living like in the first year at all. Like there was days where like I couldn't afford any groceries. So I would go to like In and Out and like eat like an In and Out, and then like a few hours later, I'd be like working with like an influencer who has like 10 million followers or 20 million followers or whatever. So it was like extremes in one day because a lot of the time when you collaborated with a lot of these creators at that time, there wasn't any form of payment. The form of payment was the exposure of my work, my photography or whatever, being seen by millions of people. So I even reached a point like right before I started creating content in front of the camera where I had to like live at a friend's place because I couldn't afford any rent. You know, it was really like I need to do something more. Like I really need to like figure this out. And eventually the solution was that I started doing content myself in front of the camera, aside from just behind the camera. And that's kind of like what made it all like what it turned it into a different game, because once I started doing that, um it like I did it on YouTube. Everything just kind of went crazy where like my friends and I had a channel, and our channel like from like 1 month to the other gained like 1 million subscribers and like over 100 million views in just like a few weeks, you know. And that's when it was like, okay, this is it. This is what's next, you know. Gilbert in front of the camera.
Amazing. So, like, all of a sudden, you go from just being your regular Joe, and all of a sudden, you're a big celebrity, I guess, in the world. How does that help you in the social life scene? People get, is it easier now to meet people? Now, I guess you got the whole coronavirus, but other than that, it's probably a little easier to meet people, right? You got a lot of fan mail and stuff, or fan emails and stuff.
So till this day, I'm gonna be honest with you. I personally feel like there's something going on where like nowadays, like being known on social media is not as, it is something that we're all working on, but it's only because we all we all live on our phones. So if you want to do a business, or if you want to be like some sort of entirety, like you have to like just do the social media push, because that's how people are going to be able to keep up with you. But in general, like when I was going through this, I mean, my friends and I did like tours like around Latin America. We did like merch, like we did like in public, like we would get like we would get like people following us around, like people coming to our house and knocking. So like it was definitely like really like it just happened so quick, honestly, that at the time you don't really ever think of like those things of like how does it feel. You just kind of keep that mindset of like I gotta keep going. But now looking back at it, it kind of feels like it was another life, you know. It kind of feels like it just feels so surreal. It doesn't feel like anything that till this day I've been able to kind of like to like touch again, because it was like a moment that like right when things started, that's when it was like the big boom. And now I'm working on another project like that's kind of like similar to that, but it's a total different game in terms of like social media wise, where like a lot of people on social media now are known, you know. But also it's like, what are you making, what are you known for? Because nowadays anybody can just pick up their phone and be viral if they wanted to, through just having an iPhone. You know, it doesn't matter if you have these resources or these resources. Anyone with an iPhone that has a personality and knows how to distribute it through TikTok or whatever, YouTube, Instagram, can have that kind of success. So I feel like because of that, personally for me, like I go about my day like an average Joe person until this day now. But there was definitely a moment where like you felt like very like non-human, because you have so many people telling you like you're their idol and they're your fan and they look up to you, and you feel like you have a responsibility. But I almost feel like because it's not tangible, it's very hard to like really describe what that is like, other than like the feeling that I feel whenever I think about it. You know, it's just very hard to describe it.
But how'd you keep grounded when that happened? You didn't want to get yourself too in your head. Were the moments where you got too in your head, or you honestly, or were you able to keep grounded at that slow phase?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. So this is something that happened between my friends and I. It was like six of us. Like we all kind of like had this boom together. Definitely at the beginning, it was like, okay, we gotta stay humble. We gotta stay like just like a month ago when none of this existed. But as time went on, egos definitely grow. You know, egos definitely become a thing. So around like 8 months in, I definitely lost myself. Like I had no idea who I was. Like I was letting the people dictate who I was.
Mm.
And that kind of turned into like 2 years of like a a lot of like mental confusion that didn't take me that I wasn't able to sort until like a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
and this happened like starting in 2017. So it was something that like, yeah, like I'm grounded now, but I can tell you definitely there was a moment where like I didn't feel grounded, and where like I didn't even notice that I was not grounded, where I was acting on this persona that like people kind of like hype for, even though to them like it's like entertainment, but like when you're living in real life, it's kind of like you really have to be careful and you really have to be aware of your values and all that, because things can get ugly really quick.
Yeah.
And
Today it's very hard.
yeah.
Being young and the world as it is, with all these different cancel cultures and all the little things you could say when you just because you're feeling, it's so hard that you say one thing wrong and all of a sudden stardom falls down the line. So I give you a lot of credit for balancing it all out to some degree, because I can imagine the pressures. Now, your videos are generally more geared to the Latin market. Is that correct? Basically, or is it?
Mm.
And is it more
I,
comedy, horror? What I mean, what genre would you say it is?
so as of the last few years, a lot of the videos were geared towards the Latin market specifically, but I reached a point where also that happened because that's where I kind of found the success without really knowing I was going to. So I kind of just ran with it. But in the last year, in the last 3 months specifically, I've been working on this next project that's going to be like more geared towards everyone, if you want to put it that way, where it revolves around a lot of storytelling and a lot of, you could say, some comedy, and just entertainment in general. But I'm a storyteller at the end of the day. I'm a filmmaker. That's kind of like why I even ended up in LA in the first place. And then social media just kind of happened. But now you kind of have to do all of it. So as far as content wise, for me, it's like just about telling stories in all shapes or forms, whether that's through vlogs, whether that's through a 15-second TikTok, whether that's through um, a documentary, whether that's through a short film, etc., or a music video. Who knows? It's just, for me, the key part is being a storyteller, because at the end of the day, if it's a story stories are universal, the language might be a barrier, but even then nowadays, I feel like we're becoming a lot more trained to consume all types of content, because we get to pick what types of content we consume, and it's not just like what's programmed, but what we search for and what's also thrown at us, and we just kind of decide to scroll or to stay.
So, what's your average day like? I mean, everybody's different, but like when you wake up at a certain time to create, and then you the videos, and how many people work with you?
So as of now, my average day looks like this. So usually my bedtime is at midnight, and I wake up at 7 a.m. And then after waking up, I drink my first cup of coffee. And then from my first cup of coffee, I turn on the music, just to kind of get me in the mood. From there, I go to my computer, I check my email, I check in with my manager. And then from there, I start thinking of all the reach outs I have to do for the day. I usually make my calendar also the day before. And then for some certain things, I'll do it like a week before, but never like only benchmarks, never like specifically. Specifically, I like to go day by day. I like to focus on the present. After doing so on a content day, usually like towards noon, we'll start creating content. Right now I'm working with a group of people in where I am in Houston, to start creating content. So we've been like having conversations. We're starting to shoot content, to backlog content, whether that's YouTube, whether that's TikTok, whether that's Instagram. Some days I'll have a shoot, and then from there I'll come back like in the evening, and I'll continue my day with any future projects that I'm working on, any progress on those. Like right now I'm working on like a series, and I'm working on a book and things like that that need like that constant progress daily, little by little. And then from there, I'll have my dinner. I'll usually have my lunch at 2 p.m. Also, by the way, forgot about that part. And then from there, I'll do my calls in the evening, because usually I save all my calls for the evening. And then from there, I'll go to the gym. And then from there, I'll just do anything that I didn't get done throughout the day, anything that requires me mostly to be on my computer, and up till midnight. And then I'll go to bed usually. So that's usually what it looks like on like my routine days, if you want to put it that way.
Sounds pretty extensive. And how many people work with you as on your projects? How many on your team would you say?
So so right now I've been working on building like a new team, because first second I was going more towards like the filmmaker route, but then as of a few months ago I decided to go more on the content creator route, because I was already starting to get like in the film industry with like mentors and etc. But then last year happened and it kind of really stalled those plans for like where I wanted to go with film. So I decided that as of now I wanted to continue to grow my social media presence and just my content creation persona. So as of now, like as far as like the people that I'm working with, it's around 10 to 15 people that I'm working with, that I'm constantly interacting with daily, with all the projects that I'm taking on like day to day, week to week. It's like at least 15 people a day that I'll be talking to, for all those projects that like I have to keep progressing and following up on, or like, hey, send me this, hey, do this, hey, we're gonna do this. And that's between photographers, that's between like cinematographers, my managers, my other my other like friends are also like content creators, editors, like all those sorts of things that like you have to constantly keep in touch with, because you want to keep continuing to move the vision forward day by day, because at the end of the day it's like those small steps that kind of build up to that big leap, not like just every now and then. And I also like to have very hands-on relationships with everyone I work with, because I want to make sure that also we're all on the same page, and that they're also like hopefully winning in some way from whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm doing with other people. Because at the end of the day, my goal is just to build something bigger than myself. So I want everyone that's a part of my journey to also win when I win, you
That's
know?
great. Gilbert, the final question is, where are we going to see Gilbert Sosa 5 years from now?
5 years from now, you're gonna see Gilbert Sosa still on the internet, because that's something that I don't think is going anywhere soon. But he's gonna have a series on a streamer under his belt, that I directed or that I produced, one or the other, or wrote, and also in a series myself as an actor. So it's gonna be one or the other. I mean, it's gonna be both of them in the next 5 years.
Gilbert, I'm going to add one other thing to you, that criteria. In the
Go
next
for it.
5 years, you're going to be a lover of Malamars, and you're going to be putting them in microwaves every night. Gilbert, it's been a real pleasure having you tonight. I'm sorry, I got to pronounce your name right the second time. It's now tell me again. I'm saying it wrong. So Sosa, like Sosa. I
Like
am
Sammy Sosa.
so Sammy Sosa, Gilbert Sosa. Oh my God, I'm terrible. Anyway, Gilbert, it's been great having you. All the best. Congratulations. You're amazing. We want you wish you all the best in the upcoming years to come. And thank you for having us. Thank you for being our interviewee this week tonight.
Thank you, bud.
Have a
Well,
great.
thank you for even considering me. I'm really happy, and thank you for your time.
It's always a pleasure. Keep up the good work. I love creative people like you. Thank you.